Hello everyone and welcome back to Superboy Beyond, and we are returning to the Superman animated series from the 1990s, the Bruce Timm Superman animated series, and this is season 2 episode 8, Mxyzpixelated or
Yep.
Mxyzpixelated. Yeah, great episode. I didn't need much of an excuse to want to watch this one. I was looking through all the episode count and I saw that title and I was just like, yeah, it's been at least a couple of years since I've seen this one, so here we go. If this is your first time watching one of our commentaries, this is not like a typical YouTube reaction video. You're not going to hear any audio from the actual thing. You're not actually going to see video clips or anything like that, but there will be a heavily filtered version up there in the middle. It's purely so you can keep in time with us. You know, somebody knocks at the door, someone phones you, and you need to pause. It just helps you get back in sync with us. But you will need your own copy of the show to get the full experience. So yeah, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Cool. I'll count us in with a 3, 2, 1 play, and as long as the
Actually,
audience,
you know what? Why don't we do it as a 3, 2, 1 McGurk?
Okay, 3, 2, 1 McGurk. Yeah. As long as the audience hits play when we do, you'll be in sync. So get ready. 3, 2, 1. McGurk! And there's Bugs Bunny.
And there is a reason why I had you say McGurk.
Oh, I know. I do like the theme tune for this show, but I must admit it's not my favorite Superman theme.
Yeah, it's a little almost somber at the beginning.
Maybe a little bit at the beginning. I don't know. It feels a little bit generic superhero for me. It never quite screamed Superman the way that some other theme tunes did.
Although, if you listen to it, it does have the John Williams,
Superman
idea.
Yeah. I don't know. I think in terms of other theme tunes that aren't John Williams, I think the Lois and Clark theme is my favorite. I just think it's a really solid tune, even if you don't have the whole Superman thing going on.
Yeah.
And there he goes. Gilbert Gottfried, what a perfect choice to play Mixie, seriously.
And the whole beginning of this episode is an adaptation of the original appearance of Mxyzpixelated. Because remember, when he first appeared in the 40s, he was dressed like this, and it was spelled TPLK, not PTLK.
It is funny, though. The only thing I would change if I was doing this show is the fact that bald Mixie just doesn't feel quite right to me. He needs that white hair coming out the sides. But
yeah.
It's a tiny nitpick. It doesn't matter. By Siegel and Schuster. Gotta love little Easter eggs like that.
Yeah.
And you know they just had to do that bit because nobody pronounces his name right the first time.
Yeah.
Like everybody says Mxyzpixelated, which is fair enough. I mean, that was used in other animated things, but I always appreciated that Superboy and this show went to the effort of actually pronouncing it right.
Yeah, that's what gave us the proper pronunciation, because, up until that point, everybody was always saying Mxyzpixelated. And yeah.
I'm trying to remember. Does McGurk even appear? Like, does the guy even exist, or is he just causing trouble?
He's just causing trouble.
Brilliant. I guess he does exist.
The interesting thing is the statue of Rodin's the Thinker here. When he comes to life, he's voiced by Frank Welker.
That's cool. Mixie is such a pest, really, isn't he?
Yeah. And Tim Daly does such a great job as Superman.
He really does.
And
I don't know if I prefer him or George Newbern from Justice League, but they're so similar.
Yeah. The interesting thing is this is not the first time he's worked with Gilbert Gottfried.
Is it not?
Gilbert used to make periodic appearances on Wings.
Huh.
As a character called Louis Blanchard.
And that was back when...
it was just a couple of years before this when that was going on.
Yeah, that was back when he was not just a voice actor, he did live action as well.
Yep.
Saying just a voice actor, like, sorry, that sounded wrong. I have tremendous respect for voice actors, you know. I just mean he used to do both. Maybe he still does. I don't know.
Well, Gilbert, no, he doesn't.
No, just Tim Daly, I meant.
Tim Daly, he does. I think he does mostly live action stuff now. He hasn't done animation in a while.
Yeah.
But he did say that, you know, if Warner Brothers would come back to him and ask him to come back and play Superman again, he would do it. He thinks his voice is a little bit better for it now.
Makes sense. Always imagined Superman as having quite a mature voice for some reason. Not quite to the same extent as Bruce Wayne, but you know. Nice little reference to that classic painting. I forget what the painting is called, but you know, everybody knows that painting. Everybody's seen it at some point. Oh. Poor cat. I always forget. Is the cat named Streaky in this show?
Yes.
Oh, good. Man, I really wish we could have seen Gilbert play Mixie in live action as well.
Just imagine if he played Mixie on Lois and Clark.
It would have been so much better. I still think you had a brilliant idea when we did the commentary for that, though. Actually hiring, you know, an actor of genuinely short stature, you know. Because let's face it, there aren't many good roles for them, and Mixie is a hell of a role.
Yeah, just imagine if it was Phil Fondacaro.
He would have been fine. He would have been great, you know. Warwick Davis would probably put in a good turn as Mixie. Like, he's pretty decent.
Mm. I love this bit.
It's always fun when you see him shave using his heat vision. Oh. Mixie really is. I think he's so much better suited for animation. I know you could do all of this stuff now with like modern CGI, but I don't know. Animation just seems to be the perfect format for Mixie.
Yeah, I mean Bruce Timm and Paul Dini have even said, you know, he's kind of hard to write for because, you know, once you do one Mixie episode, you do another one and it gets a little boring.
You have to really change up the story, I suppose.
Yeah.
But, you know, the comics have managed it. There's plenty of brilliant comics you could pull from.
Yeah.
I think my favourite Mxyzpixelated comic story is one where he barely even appears, but his presence is felt throughout. It's Emperor Joker. Have you read that?
Yes.
Brilliant story.
And he actually appears in this costume in it.
It's funny as well when they did during Rebirth, when they did the Superman Reborn story, and Mixie talked about, like, you know, all the things like how he's the only Mixie in the multiverse and all of that. You see all the different versions and that, and the animated series versions there, because of course he is, you know.
Yep.
And I always forget, but is Mixie's girlfriend like even in the comics, or is it just like they thought it would be fun?
There was a character called Gazpitlisnez in the pre-crisis Superman stories, but she was a imp from the fifth dimension who made herself look beautiful just so that she could marry him. And Superman helps them to get married, and then he thinks he's done with Mxyzpixelated, and then he reappears, and he says, "Wait a minute, you just got married. I thought you said you would never come back." And he says, "Yeah, well, Gazpitlisnez, she actually made herself look beautiful so that she'd marry me. She could marry me."
Okay.
And he's like, "Well, wait a minute, isn't that fraud?" "Yes. So that should be illegal even in the fifth dimension." He says, "Oh yeah, it is, but I still have to come back and annoy you."
But then again, you know, they can all shapeshift. Who's to say which appearance is her real one, you know?
Yeah. The interesting thing is that she is voiced here by famous actress / comedian / former girlfriend of Madonna's Sandra Bernhard.
I know the name, but I couldn't tell you who she is. Whenever I see this, I always just think, oh yeah, they just wanted to give Mixie like a girlfriend that looks a bit like Jessica Rabbit. Just, I guess, because if you're doing animation and you want an attractive woman, Jessica Rabbit is kind of the standard.
Yeah. I love how all he's doing is just building this super armored robot so he can go and destroy Superman. And the only time he's talking is saying, "Got to beat Superman. Got to beat Superman." And now the 30 days.
Superman would defeat it immediately.
Yep. The 90 days has gone by. He's going to go back, and I just love Pitless's response as he beams out.
It's also quite funny just seeing him build that robot, because surely he's got the powers. He could just snap his fingers and build it, you know. He doesn't. He didn't have to spend 90 days working on it, really.
Well, you know what they say. Idle hands are the devil's playground, so he's got to do something.
Hmm. The interesting thing with this episode, though, is just the fact that so much time has passed.
Yeah, I mean, let's see. So the beginning of the episode to the scene in the bathroom, that's 3 months.
Yeah.
There's at
The
least a year
robot.
that goes by in this entire episode.
Yeah. Which I'm not totally against, because let's face it, they started doing the tie-in comics around this time. I know I've got a couple of Superman Adventures animated comics.
Yeah.
It's just, it leaves a perfect little spot where you could tell just a whole bunch of stories, isn't it?
It's a shame that in none of those issues did he pop in with the armored suit.
That would have been a fun issue. We could have actually seen what happened there.
Now, everybody watching the episode with us, pay attention to the fact that Lois, as the horse, is now eating this carrot. That's going to come back later.
Yeah, I remember when she comes back, like she's still eating the carrot as a human. Yeah. She's
And then
like,
she looks
what
at
am
it,
I doing?
why am I eating this?
Yeah. And you know, it's an interesting strategy from Superman. Just leave, because I suppose unless you actually, you know, engage with Mixie, like, I mean, he's got to be pretty bored.
Well, he's got the typical, practical Joker's, mindset here. If you don't give the practical Joker the time of day, they get more and more upset.
Yeah. It is a shame they didn't do more Mixie episodes than they actually did. Wasn't there only like 2?
There was 2, and then they were trying to figure out how to do them for Justice League. I think in season 2, and that's why Paul Dini said, it's hard to write for this character in such a way that it feels fresh every time.
Yeah, I just can't imagine a scene like this working in live action. Like, it would just be nightmare fuel to have like a missile with like Gilbert Gottfried's face on the front.
Yeah.
See, part of me thinks it would be fun with a Superman live action project if, when Mixie comes in, he's still animated, just doing Roger Rabbit style, you know? I think that could be fun. You could just say that, well, people from the 5th dimension, sometimes we look animated, you know?
He's definitely the kind of character that James Gunn would definitely love to do. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, I hope he gets to do a Mixie story at some point. Like, he would be a pretty good villain for a Justice League movie. You might need to bring in a second villain at the same time, but because I'm not sure Mixie could carry the entire story for like 90 minutes or 2 hours or however long it is, but Yeah, just do like a villain team up or something. Yep. And there we are. It all goes back to normal.
Gotta love Mxy. One of the most dangerous foes that Superman has ever had to deal with.
And yeah,
But
the carrot.
yeah. And even though Dana Delaney didn't get to do all that much as Lois in this, she sounds so great as Lois.
Yeah, she's just got the perfect voice for Lois Lane, hasn't she?
I still love the documentary that they did. I think it's on one of the discs of the Blu-ray, where Andrea Romano is talking about, when she got Dana into the booth to do the first recording, and she says, what I did was I sat there and I said, okay, so we're going to start recording now. And she says, okay, so Dana Delaney, Lois Lane, take one. And Dana's just quiet. And Andrea is like, Dana, you okay? And she says, I'm sorry. This is the thing that I've wanted to do my whole life. Lois Lane. She got nervous.
I absolutely love when actors get cast in roles that they've been dreaming of for years.
Mm.
It's just
and
always a
in
nice
the 90s,
thing.
she probably would have been a great live action Lois.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think she looks the part just from memory. I have a pretty hazy impression of what she looks like, but I've seen behind the scenes documentary stuff on this show before, so yeah, I think she's fantastic in the role. So that was season 2, episode 8, Mxyzpixelated, or Mxyzpixelated. Yeah, really, really great episode. It's probably my favorite episode of the animated series, I'll be honest, but that's mostly because I'm just a fan of Mxy,
And it's Gilbert, our favorite crossover actor.
Yeah. Man, I wish he would have played the role in live action at some point. That would have been fun. He wouldn't have been able to do quite as much, but he still would have been great.
Yeah. I mean, as much as a good actor Howie Mandel is, and as funny as he can be, okay, if they had gotten Gilbert for Lois and Clark, it would have elevated it that much.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. I don't have anything negative to say about this episode, to be honest.
Neither do I.
Nothing at all. I think this is one of those episodes that, as far as I'm concerned, this is an easy 9.5. I can't see any episode getting a higher score from me than this one. What do you think? 9.5?
I would say 9.5 on this. This is near perfect.
I don't even know what the episode could do to elevate it to a full 10. I just think it's one of those things. Nothing is ever perfect as far as I'm concerned. There's always room for improvement. I'm just not sure where they could improve on this one because it's already phenomenal. Yeah, just a fantastic episode. I don't have much else to say on this one, really.
Yeah, neither do I.
Well, thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you next week. This time we really don't know what we're watching next week.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we may be watching Paranoia if Lou is able to join us, but if not, that will just be pushed back a couple weeks or so. But yeah, it'd be fun to get Lou for that episode, since he is the George Reeves super fan.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you all so much. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.